we head to Washington, where, as everyone knows, the new Republican House majority struggled and struggled to get themselves together and elect a new speaker. That is the first order of business. It comes even before the new Congress is actually sworn in. In vote after painstaking roll call vote, mainstream Republican Kevin McCarthy fell short. First time that has happened in a century, when a handful of renegade Republicans refused to support him. Now, the president and many of his other Republicans called the whole spectacle an embarrassment. We spoke with Vermont's new representative, Democrat Becca Balint, on Thursday. At that point, there had been 6 failed votes to elect a speaker. There'd be many more. We talked about her impressions and some of her tweets during her first week on the job. Joining us this morning from Washington, Congresswoman Becca Balint, a Democrat of Vermont. It's so great to talk with you. Welcome back to NBC5 In Depth.
Good morning, Stuart. Thank you for having me. And I just have to tell you, I'm not a congresswoman yet.
Well, there's a caveat there. As we are speaking with you, you have not yet been sworn in. It could happen at any moment. This week has not exactly gone as any of us expected. What has it been like for you on the floor of the House of Representatives?
Well, I've been telling people, as a historian, as you know, I taught history for many years. As a historian, it's fascinating, right? It hasn't happened for 100 years that the speaker hasn't been elected on the first vote.
No member-elect having received the majority of the votes cast, a speaker has not been elected.
So when I am thinking about my teacher self, I'm amazed that I'm a part of history. When I'm thinking as a Vermonter and American about the dysfunction, it's very discouraging, because not only can I not be sworn in, but we can't get ourselves organized. We can't have any committees. We can't get the work done. And so it has been very concerning.
Is it very dramatic as you wait for this very long process to call each of the 435 names verbally, no electronic recording of the vote? As you wait for those 20 holdouts to see what they're going to do?
Well, so what's interesting is, because the vote takes so long, Stuart, you kind of know early on in the alphabet that he doesn't have the votes, but you still have to go through the next, 200 members. And so the drama happens in moments, and we are just hoping that today, when we come back onto the floor, that they would have organized themselves, they being the Republican conference, to put forward either a speaker candidate that has the votes, or that they have been able to find the votes for their nominee. But it is it's a lot of waiting to see what happens.
You have spoken about the need for bipartisanship in the Congress of the United States. You are brand new. John Kasich, for one, has also talked about perhaps moderate Republicans, what he calls reasonable members of his party, and reasonable Democrats would get together and elect a compromise speaker. Is that just insane? Could that happen? Is there any talk of that?
There's really no talk of that. We're waiting for the Republicans to put forward their candidate. And so I actually did cross the aisle during some recesses yesterday to talk with some of the backbenchers in the Republican Party to get their take on it. And essentially, they are also very much waiting to see what the rest of their conference does. We have been united in our vote for Hakeem Jeffries.
It's time for the Republicans to get their act together.
I think we're up to 7 votes now, unanimously elected. There is a scenario by which, if some of their members don't show up, then Hakeem Jeffries becomes the speaker. But we're just waiting to see. We want willing partners. That's what we want. And we're waiting for that to emerge.
Tell us what it's been like arriving in Washington. You have a place to live. Not all of the freshman class does. Some are talking about sleeping on the couch and stuff.
Yes.
How are you finding it?
So, I'm experiencing it on so many different levels, right? As the child of an immigrant, every time that I walk up to the Capitol, I get really choked up. And as a mom, having my kids here this week, even though I haven't been sworn in yet, having them with me is an incredibly powerful experience. And then knowing that I can't actually get anything done right now is very frustrating. So we're still waiting on committee assignments. We're not all staffed up yet, all those things. But I do feel like once we get up and running, I'm going to be able to build those relationships to actually get some things done for Vermont. That is what I hope. That is what I think.
How soon, might you know about a committee assignment?
Probably not until the earliest sometime next week, because we still don't have a speaker, and all of that flows from the speaker's office.
Again, we're talking with you late in the week, and we are awaiting the election
Yes.
of a speaker. You talk about your staff. You issued a press statement this week, which seemed to be relatively complete. You've been hiring like mad, some from Vermont and some who worked for other members on the Hill.
Yes, we have a really great mix of staff. I actually feel so excited about the staff we've assembled because we have members on staff who understand Vermont and Vermonters and have strong connections there. And we also have been hiring folks here on the Hill who understand, really how to be effective, especially as a new member. We want to hire a few more legislative aides that will help me with, the areas that I very much want to get work done, housing, mental health. And so we've been holding off on rounding out our legislative staff until we know what committees I'm on, because they tend to want to hire people who have some expertise in those areas. But I feel really good about the staff.
Led by?
Can you say that again, Stuart? I'm sorry.
Your chief of staff?
My chief of staff is a woman named Megan Garcia. She worked most recently for Congressman David Cicilline from Rhode Island, another small state where everybody seems to know each other. That was important to me, that she understood that dynamic. And of course, our district director is David Scher, who many people know most recently as the head of the Cannabis Control Board, but a longtime attorney in Vermont. And they're working really well together.
Have you settled on district offices, locations? Do you have space?
So we have space on Church Street. We thought it was important to have a center in the most populous county. And our hope is that we're going to be able to find a satellite space in Brattleboro, either in a state office building or a federal building. We're still working out those details, but we want to have some open hours at various sites around Vermont.
And because you'll be commuting from your home in Brattleboro through Bradley Airport in Hartford.
That's correct.
Tell us about the shoes, Becca, Congresswoman. The shoes, the white shoes you've been tweeting, and it's been rather funny.
Stuart, they're not actually white. They're platinum sparkly. Maybe it doesn't come through on TV.
I stand corrected. But I mean, and I've seen you do more dancing in the last few days than ever before.
Yes.
I'm not a congresswoman yet. Woo!
So, as some of my colleagues in the legislature know, every year on my birthday, I get new birthday shoes for the legislature, and it seemed only fitting that I should get new swearing-in shoes. Though, as I was just telling you, I've been wearing them for several days in anticipation of being sworn in. But I like to be sort of stayed on top, party on the feet, and remind myself that you can be both serious of purpose and joyful. That is the reminder that those shoes bring to me.
Just as you did when you were teaching school, first day of school.
Yes.
That's wonderful.
Exactly.
Well, good luck. We'll check in with you again soon, but many thanks, Becca Balint.
Thank you, Stuart.
Soon to be Congresswoman from Vermont, and maybe by Sunday morning. Thanks for being with us on NBC5 In Depth.
Great to talk with you.
You too. Bye-bye.
Well, also in Washington, after 8 terms in the House, Democrat Peter Welch has moved to the upper chamber. See him there sworn in by Vice President Kamala Harris. Welch succeeds retiring Senator Pat Leahy, who retired, yes. Welch, who is 75, is the oldest person to become a freshman senator, but he says his congressional experience is needed in the Senate, and he promises to focus on bipartisanship.
I think we need the Vermont way here in the Capitol, and that is mutual respect. It's hard work. It's having a willingness to work with people you disagree with to achieve a common good. And our country needs that, and Lord knows our Congress needs that.
new U.S. Senator Peter Welch. Coming next, history in Albany this week as well.